Hey everyone, welcome back to virsivlog. This week we talked to Channing Moreland of Eva about what's going on during this time of COVID. Hey everyone, welcome back to virsivlog. We are so excited this week to have Channing Moreland of Eva. She is CEO and co-founder and co-CEO. And not only that, she is my former employer. Um, I am like over the moon. Channing has taught me so much, even though she's pretty much half my age, of how to be graceful, how to be vulnerable, and how to be an amazing CEO and founder moving into this tech space. And I really attribute everything that I'm going through right now to you.
I don't know about that, but
Well,
I'm so glad. Well, it's
I
great to
think
be here. Thank you.
my year that I spent with you guys, I learned so much about the tech space, and I know that our parting was very sad. But one of the things you said to me was, "We knew you'd be okay." Mackenzie, who is also co-founder and co-CEO of Eva, I mean, we cried. We were so sad, and we absolutely adore each other and had the best year of our lives. But when March happened, we were just like, what are we going to do? And I want to really start that. We'll get to that in a minute, but I really just want to start and set you up with, who are you and what do you do at Eva?
Yeah, so thank you, Debbie. And it has been. I know we'll get to it, but what a crazy year. The fact that it's still the same year than that when that happened is insane to me, looking back. But yeah, so would you like me to maybe tell a little bit about what we were doing even before
Yeah.
COVID? Okay, cool. So yes, I am one of the co-founders and a co-CEO, which happy to talk about that and what that's like of our company, Eva. And we are an online platform that connects corporate and private events to entertainment and experiences. And Mackenzie and I built this company together starting when we were in college because we were putting on a lot of events, booking a lot of entertainment for even the college market. And we were seeing similarities throughout that the booking process was so archaic. There were these logistics that really could be simplified. And especially in the private event sector, never enough attention we felt was being paid to such a big opportunity in the market. And so we created Eva to really streamline that process, go through the whole discovery of vetted entertainers, and then go into the communication, the payments, the contracts. Debbie knows that it is a very big undertaking to try and change habits and to change the way things are done. But before COVID, we were doing that for live events, mainly conferences, conventions, private events. And COVID happened. And yes, that's right where you were talking about March. It was so crazy to just see all that business gone and so many people in this industry, their businesses just destroyed. And that was the main source of income for a lot of people, just gone. So, really hard for everyone I know to have to witness that. But also, will say when there is extreme economic distress, it's oddly one of the best times to build a business, which I think is so perfect for virsitour. And I'm really glad that I knew everything would work out the way it should. And I'm so glad to see that that's the case.
Well, I appreciate that. You definitely helped me at the beginning when I was like, what do I do? What do I correction? How do you do this? The tech
Yeah.
space is definitely different. There's verbiage and weird tech terms and founder and all these kind of things that are just not normal for other types of businesses. So I really appreciate your help on that. So March happened, and I mean, it was funny because it wasn't funny. Like I had my great review. We were gelling. Mackenzie and I were in Vegas. I came back. I was going on vacation, my first vacation. You're like, go enjoy. And then on my vacation, it was like getting weird and getting weird. And when I came back on that Friday, you're like, we need to talk. And I knew what that meant. And um, since that time, you guys have definitely regrouped and taken on a definitely, and I hate using the word, but a pivot.
For
How did
sure.
your describe the pivot you took and how has it changed your business during this time?
Yeah, it we felt the same way. With the calls that we had together where you were like, How are we, what's going on? What kind of business is this going to be?" We were doing the same thing. And what's kind of crazy is I feel like we didn't go into full freak out mode right away. I think it happened. We went there. Mackenzie and I were definitely just like, what are we doing? We're trying to throw everything at the wall. What does this look like? It didn't feel like there was much hope. But at the beginning, even, we were just kind of, I think, so used to being a startup, so used to being just thrown crap and have to deal with it, that I think we were almost like, well, like, let's figure it out. So we started to just try a lot of different things. And we went to virtual. We saw it being the only way people could try to connect. And we were tentative because we didn't really know what that would be like, much like a lot of people in the event market. And it's really only been in the past few months that we feel like we're starting to even see how beneficial really COVID was for kind of changing some of the things we really struggled with. Like, we kept hitting a wall with in our a model. Like, we want to actually be location agnostic. And one of the biggest, hardest things that, as you know, we kept trying to work through was like, okay, we need to go launch in these markets, and that's going to cost a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of onboarding and boots on the ground. But we need artists in this location and we need buyers in this location. What's been really great is just getting to see how we can actually connect online with people, and we can find solutions for them and get it to them without it being like fully launched in that market. So that was a big benefit to come out of this. And it's really empowered us to say, what do we actually want to do? What do we actually want to be? And we want to craft, and a great question Mackenzie like philosophically asked us a couple weeks ago was, are we an entertainment company with good technology, or are we a technology company with good entertainment?
Mhm.
And I think that really defines what COVID's time has been for us, because we're starting to really see that, we're an entertainment company with good technology. So let's really promote and focus and craft great experiences for people. And let's also not just be so focused on the music, because there's a lot more there that's entertaining people. And you were a big driver of that when you were on this team. And so I don't know if that answers the question. It's been so much,
No,
right?
it does. It definitely does because I mean, what we were doing literally right before this happened was it was like a 10 city rollout. We had each city. Mackenzie had like Airbnbs and flights and cars. She drove from Vegas to
Yeah.
Phoenix, was actually in Phoenix when this all happened to launch the next few markets as I'm going after Chicago and New York and Boston and LA. We were putting the boots on the ground and Milwaukee too, which was a huge thing that like probably was completely devastating. But again, we'll get into that in a minute. Um, how how this was able to show you how non-location specific you needed to be, and
Mhm.
how horrible this time is, but how cool that is that you were able to like see that without actually having people in each city, and how even when hybrid comes back, or at this time also building building virtually right now this great roster you guys will have across the country.
Absolutely. And that's been the great thing to see, is that even when there's starting to be live events coming back for next year planning, we can still take everything we've learned during the season and utilize that for the future. And I think too, I won't I won't go into too much detail, but there was some clientele that wasn't jiving, towards the end, like who we were focusing on, how we were going about our launches. It just wasn't. it wasn't ideal for the business. And I think that's a big fault on me because I was just, I'm in survival mode of like, let's get the business for our business so that we can grow the business. And this really caused us to stop all the BS and go, what do we actually want to do? How do we want, what kind of customer do we want? And how can we make sure that we can grow? And we're still struggling through that. It's like, how can, because there's no answers right now. And Mackenzie brings up great points of, it's not like people have done this before, even. So we're all traversing new ground together, but oddly, it feels like we're all figuring it out or starting to, it seems.
And the innovation and like just sitting in a room with you guys, last year, and just like the brain, we're all kind of like brainstorming. We had a retreat literally like 3 weeks before this where we were
So
just like,
wild.
we're this company, like we came out of it. And the one thing that's really interesting is, these virtual trends that, we're all seeing a lot of different ones. Like I go to a luxury summit that is literally feel like I'm in a video game. I have never seen this. I go back, my son Max, like he'll go in later and he'll like poking around this virtual space, and just seeing the innovation that's coming out of this in the virtual space is pretty spectacular. What trends do you see in it that you did not expect?
Ooh, that is such a good question. Um, A lot. Okay, one that I'm so about, and I think it's really going to continue. And I think it has a lot to do with similarities in what you're doing with your business, is we're seeing these extremely interactive networking opportunities where people are going into almost like it feels like they're on a festival map and they are like going and finding people to talk to. And there's different networking apps like Yo Tribe where people can go around a map and then they can like bubble up together and then they can be talking like video screen, but they're interacting with this map. And we got to test it with a conference recently, and it was amazing to watch people figure it out and enjoy it. And I think those are those moments where I see these companies and trends working, where people don't think that a virtual event can engage or there can be that networking or it can be entertaining, but then you find the right fit for the client and it works. So I love to see those companies popping up, doing a lot of innovation, and it's just been wild in general to see like all the different platforms. I'm interested to see how hybrid events really take on. I got to be a part of my first hybrid event 2 weeks ago. It was actually taking place in Berlin. It was a music festival called Reeperbahn Festival, and it was a whole test for them. And they had delegates from the US doing the virtual side of the conference, but then they were actually a part of the in person. It was amazing to watch. And I'm like, look at this trend that like I normally would have never been able to afford to go to Berlin. How many times did we talk about you going to Europe for different things? It's like, imagine if we could have had you still get some contacts from them. It's just seems like an awesome trend to be happening right now.
Yeah, it is pretty incredible. I did like a trade show with the UK. I've talked to this week people from all over the world. Like, and it's crazy because, one of those things we always discuss is how do we get our local people? Like, we were killing it in Nashville. Like, Nashville was easy, but how do you get outside those bubbles? And this really has, in a weird way, connected us globally.
Mm-hmm.
And as separated as we are, sitting in our homes, um, over Zoom or whatever platform it is, we've actually become a little more connected, I think, because we're
Totally.
missing human interaction. And that's kind of my next question is, are you actively pursuing and going back to live events kind of when it all meanders? Are you going to keep with the virtual? Will you kind of have both sides? How are you guys working that into your business plan right now?
What I love that we started building capabilities to book virtual on our platform. So that was one of the first things we started building so that people can go on and they can book virtual, hybrid, or in person entertainment or experiences. So I definitely almost see like, okay, live events went on the back burner, but it will be back and it's a model we know. It's crazy though. I feel like the sentiment of it is changing weekly. Because if you had asked me this a couple weeks ago, I'd be like virtual till the day we die. But right now, we're just trying to listen to the market. And it's crazy, but we're seeing a lot of live event activity for next year. Granted, that's not till next year. I'm sure people are hopeful. I'm hopeful, but I would love to be able to always be able to provide all three because I think there will still be needs for companies to have these options. The ones that are just planning on staying forever remote will need it.
Absolutely. And that kind of brings me to one of the things we kind of touched on before was one of the big things we were working on was the Democratic National Convention. And
Mm-hmm.
obviously that went completely virtual. There was no entertainment. That was a huge undertaking that we were doing. And, you know, are those things that, looking at the future, you did kind of allude to some clients that were not doing you much good. As you look for the, look to the future of Eva, do you think that you've kind of have a new niche that you're going to kind of stay away from some of those bigger things and really focus on more private? Or do you think you will still go after some of those higher ticket conferences and, and events like that?
Yeah, that is a great question as well. I always think about how you interviewed so many people in the radio days. I'm like, you can tell you're so good at it. So, um, yes, that's, I think, been a big lesson for me in this in particular. And I'm still learning it. I'm still messing up daily, but it's like, I think it almost became a frantic thing to try and make, that the something fit that wasn't supposed to fit. Whereas there's other clients that might be that same high ticketed item. I'm not saying the DNC in particular, but it's just some aren't supposed to work for the model we have, and that's okay. There's enough out there to really identify and target the ones that do. And that's also really, I think, empowered us to be able to say no. And I felt like there was a time where maybe we felt like we couldn't, and also, it really depends on the right partners too. I really, in the future of Eva, I see us as a great asset. I see us being able to work alongside um, partners that need us as the next step or need us as that handoff. And that could look like us being partnered with some of these virtual platforms or working alongside some companies in the hospitality space. But I also want to be mindful that we've always loved working with industries that also really care about the entertainment and the music. And so I think we've naturally started looking at industries as like, where do we actually have a lot of fun working in? Because let's do that. Why not?
Yeah. Well, it was interesting because you guys went through the brandery in
Mm-hmm.
Cincinnati the last part of last year. And then you were on kind of tour in January where you started like in San Francisco and we shared a room in San Francisco and Chicago. Gosh,
Gosh.
the days, how fun was that? You're just a CEO bunking up with two more people. Like it's so crazy when you think about that.
Heck yeah.
Um, but you're gonna laugh at this one day. No, but thinking about the investors. And, I think that what you just said kind of pointed out exactly what it was. You were trying to go after something that you may not have represented because you're going to all these people. And I kind of saw it happening as you were going from investor to investor for venture capital or angel capital, that maybe you would come out of a meeting and you'd be like, well, maybe we need to go after this because we need to prove ourselves in a sense. But
Mm-hmm.
I love where your space right now because we're not going to compromise ourselves for that money. We're going to
Mm-hmm.
create something that is really needed and work with the people we want.
Yes, I hope that we both and fellow businesses, I mean, it's like, damn guys, if we have like made it through a pandemic, it's not going to be the worst thing to say no to some business that really doesn't make sense or an investor or a partner. that doesn't work. And so I think it hasn't made us numb. I think it's just made us, um, we're just not gonna, we're not going to bend.
Not gonna
Like,
compromise on it anymore.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that, and especially with investors, man, that's a whole other podcast maybe if ever needed on doing that. But that's been a good thing too. I'm so grateful we did not raise the round we were planning on raising in March and April, because that would have also been to expand the way we were planning on it. And I think we can do it a lot better this go around.
Awesome. I wanted to know some advice that you would
Yeah.
give to a fellow female entrepreneur on moving forward. Now, you guys had an interesting start. Some of us
Definitely.
starting in our 40s don't have some
That's
of
the time. Heck yeah.
the things. I've got experience. What would you what kind of advice would you give fellow female entrepreneurs?
I think, well, the advice I've been even telling myself in the even past couple of months of COVID. I mean, this has been a really wild time, Debbie, to start a business, to try and grow a business. But it's also made me realize that it's kind of always this way with starting a business and building a business. You and to surround yourself with people that understand and they get it, and to pick up that phone and call. So you've done that, and that's what you have to do when you start. And that's how we started, and totally different experiences in starting our businesses, but yet some very similar foundational pieces. That there was mentors, there was partners, there was people engaged and involved in the process, and they were there to help. And so my advice is to, in life, always make sure you have that circle, but especially when you have that idea, because they're going to be your people.
Awesome. Last question is, before you were very much into wellness and your health and yoga and taking your breaks, and you're very grounded. I've always said that you're way beyond your years. You are definitely you know pretty grounded right now, or you were. I don't know how you've been lately. We haven't talked for a while.
Oh, not this,
You know,
not.
pretty, good head on your shoulders. Are you still doing stuff like that? What do you do in your free time? I mean, I guess it's getting a little hard to like go out for a drink or let's go meet, like go watch live music, which was great for, the industry you're in. What are you doing in your free time?
Yeah, actually, it's funny. I was just reflecting on this the past couple of days and talking about it in therapy. That's a thing we all need. But I was just realizing that like I had really gotten away from some of my routines for wellness and for me time. And I don't know if that was me feeling like in a weird subconscious way I didn't deserve it, or like I didn't have time for it, which is BS. But just in the past week, I've really gotten back to that, and I've noticed such a difference in me internally. And so, what I've kind of did throughout that always stayed for me time. This sounds so pathetic, but like literally just going outside and just being, and like no screen, like being grounded, just being outside and in just listening, hearing, feeling, like kind of the five senses grounding has been like something I do a lot. And that sounds weird probably, but it's just to like take a break, because now I realize I'm like, we're on our screens even so much more, that like I needed to almost, I felt myself subconsciously like pulling to the opposite. So I feel like just getting outside, hiking, doing anything I can to get away from it for a few helps so much more.
Absolutely. We the kids and my husband went out a few weeks ago or a week ago. I can't remember. Days are all the same now. But they brought a turtle back.
A turtle?
Turtle, and it's great. We named him Leo. He's
So cute.
fabulous. Well, we had to bring him back to the lake because he wasn't eating. But I would literally go outside and take the turtle out so he can stretch his legs. I have his little, terrarium we had. And I have a picture of him and me like watching the sunset together.
You need to send me that.
this like that, I want to like go back and get him or get another turtle because for me going outside even with a glass of wine and the sun is going down and it was just like me and the turtle and like we had dance parties, like seriously, I mean, it was amazing because that was my time to like get outside, get in the day, reflect on the day, and just be like, hey, Leo, today was kind of hard. You know, like I felt like I had therapy with someone who wasn't talking back to me. And, you know, he didn't, like, he just looked at me or walked around, and it was amazing. So it was
I
back and
so feel
forth.
that. That's awesome. I love it. And maybe we just all need to get a turtle because that sounds pretty great.
Yeah, as long as you kind of figure out what they're supposed to eat and they eat, because he wasn't eating, and I'm like, I don't want to wake up to a dead turtle. So,
Leo's
anyway, yeah, it was pretty bad. Um, I so much appreciate this talk that we just had, and you know everything that Eva has done for me. I mean, I know when I came on board, I mean, it was let's do this together. And as sad and awful and terrible as I to lose that job that I love so much, I really found like I felt like I found my place. I
Mhm.
do think that you guys gave me the tools and you know, and everything to move into my own space because you know I'm definitely an entrepreneurial spirit, and I would come back and I would be like I have an idea, and I definitely feel like I'm in my right space as well, and always willing to work with you guys at any capacity. Maybe we could
Yes,
be partners one day.
I think
uh,
so.
I hand off, hey, you need entertainment after you book your you know your site, we'll be there for you.
It's kind of what I'm thinking,
Yeah,
and I love that. And I just have to say, I mean, Mackenzie and I are just so pumped for you. Like we were like, it is no surprise that she came back with a really awesome idea, and I hope, I hope that we were a small piece of that. That would bring me a lot of joy. And yeah, no, anything we can ever do, and it's beautiful because I know we'll be able to work together throughout. And it's a reminder that despite all of the difficult times, like things, they work out the way they should.
absolutely. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to put up on the screen right here how to get in contact with you guys, your
Perfect.
socials, your it's bookwithiva.com. Don't forget that, guys, if you're looking for some entertainment for your virtual, hybrid, or live events, very easy platform to use. It's incredible. And Channing, thank you so much. And guys, so I appreciate you all watching and tune in next time.